Hi, I'm Tim Byrne. This is Tim Byrne Almost Live. I am at PM Expo down in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It is Friday. It's the last day, and I am with a dear close friend of mine, Anthony Vinzi from Promain Exterior Maintenance. Hi, Anthony. How are you?
Good,
Welcome
brother.
back to the couch.
Welcome back to the couch.
Little therapy. Little
Yeah.
show therapy.
While you're shaking my hand, we've been with each other for the last 3 days.
Anthony and I, for the last 9 years,
Yeah.
it's been 9 years, have done every single trade show together. Whether it's been in the U.S. with Connect/Prism or whether it's been a PM Expo, you and I have literally traveled to every show, shared a room
Because we don't snore.
because we don't snore. Okay, and for most people, you know this, for when you do business travel,
Yep.
it's lonely, wickedly. Business travels, people always go, oh, especially the young guys, right? Oh, you get. And when I tell them, so if you come on to Byrne on Demand, you can travel. You get to go to Florida. You get to. Traveling's awful. Business travel is
Terrible.
awful.
Where do you sit? Where do you eat? You're
alone.
You're alone, sitting at a bar, eating, looking at your cell phone 100 times, and pretending to look through social, emails. But you're looking at anything just to keep yourself busy. It's your security blanket.
Yeah, ironically, business travel being so lonely, you're right, security blanket. Do you know that I only learned this from a video you sent me regarding millennials? Did you watch that whole video?
I did.
Okay, so your cell phone, like alcohol and drugs, creates dopamine.
Yeah.
So
I got 3 daughters, and
yeah, it's funny.
letting
Right?
go of those cell phones. Like, we go on vacation now. It's not, Dad, is there a beach? Is there this? Is there that? Is there Wi-Fi? That's the first question I get.
Yeah.
Is there Wi-Fi?
Yeah, it's dopamine, right?
And I said, you know what, guys? Give it up.
I like the fact that Andy just slid in Tim Hortons, and for the American watchers and viewers, Tim Hortons is like a staple, eh?
Let's not compare it to a
Starbucks?
No, a Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts.
That's the
Okay.
big debate.
I
You know, though, yeah, we all agree. But
Okay, so American. There's a big difference between American coffee and Canadian coffee. Take away Starbucks, because Starbucks tries to be a uniform brand, around the world, right? But between Tim Hortons being Canadian and Dunkin' Donuts being American, and there aren't any. Are there any Dunkin' Donuts in Ontario? In Quebec, there is. Quebec, there's a bunch.
yeah,
Is there? Okay, the ones that are in New York and New Hampshire and Maine that I've had coffee at, I don't like American coffee, but I also don't like the smell of American cigarettes. Canadian cigarettes are, and I don't smoke cigarettes, but Canadian cigarettes aren't as icky smelling.
they're different.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Right. And then American and American Dunkin' Donut is trying to have that bitter taste, the cheap bitter taste of Starbucks.
Okay, when you say American coffee,
Dunkin' Donuts.
isn't Tim Hortons now purchased by Burger King? So technically, they are an American company now.
It is, but there is definitely some.
Probably still keep it Canadian. Keep the brand.
Okay,
consistency.
but okay, and you talking about we're trade show retailers, talk about Canadian differences. Walmart in the United States sells guns.
Yeah.
Walmart in Canada does not sell guns.
Maybe a paintball or a pellet gun if you're lucky now.
Right,
And
maybe.
and it doesn't even look like a gun.
I like the way people are stealing money from me right now while we're on the air because I know I can't stop the stealing. But you're right. There's Tim Hortons now in. Did I ever tell you my Tim Hortons story?
Well, they put one in Afghanistan during the war too. For
I
the
would-
Canadian soldiers.
I was in. I went down to the U.S. to see Anthony Corporation. No relation to you.
No,
Anthony
you've
Vinzi.
always mentioned it, Anthony.
Yeah, right. Anthony Shadula.
Yep.
So I go down to see his office in New York, and I went down there and I drove in through Buffalo, and I can't remember what it is. It's Rochester, Syracuse. I headed that east way.
Yep.
And I didn't have any American money on me. And I went and saw his team and stuff, and I was literally there for the day and drove back. And as I was driving back, I really was desperate for coffee. So I saw Tim Hortons in one of these little towns. I can't remember where I was at. Like I was in Johannesburg or whatever, one of those. There's a burg somewhere.
Johannesburg, yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but they all have these burg names and Hamburg,
I got you.
Johannesburg, right? They're a
Yeah.
burg. So I'm in a burg, and there's a Tim Hortons there. So I go, sweet, and I don't have any American money on me. So I go to the 4 banks on all 4 corners to change in my $10 Canadian money. I am an hour and a half away from the border.
But you look like a bum. You could have just put a cup in.
I didn't have long hair at the time. And I literally went in there with my $10 bill, and every single bank said, we don't exchange Canadian money.
Yeah, that's bad.
Every single bank refused.
That's
So
bad.
I walked into the Tim Hortons in the U.S.,
Yep.
And I walked up to the counter, and I said, I really need a sandwich, and I really like a cup of coffee, and I have no American money. I held up my $10. I said, you can keep the whole thing.
And they say, oh, I got some for you. Right?
I got some American money. There you go. Fuck you. No, I pulled out the $10, and this is where the Americans are much better than the Canadians. I pulled out my $10 Canadian bill, and buddy behind the counter looks at me and goes, don't worry about it. Put it away. And I went, no, I'm starving. He goes, no, you can have the sandwich and the coffee on me.
That's nice.
And he was the manager.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't the owner. He wasn't the owner. He literally gave me goosebumps. I'm standing at the counter. The thing is packed. And he goes, no, you can't have it.
You know, Canadians get that whole we're friendly, this and that. Americans get a bit of a bad rap.
No. Listen, I think
But I think that was nice.
Sorry. I think Americans do customer service much better than anybody else in the world. I think when you're capitalism at its best, when you're paying for customer service in the U.S., you're getting customer service in the U.S. But this guy literally was like, no. Forget it. Put your money away. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm starving. And he's like, it's free. It's on the house. What I did do was went back to my truck. And for Americans, I grabbed loonies and toonies. Our loonie is our dollar coin, and our toonie is our $2 coin. I ran to my truck, and I grabbed 2 loonies and 2 toonies. And I went to give it to him. He went, I don't want your change either. I went, do you have kids? He said,
We don't accept Monopoly money. That's what he told you.
I don't accept Monopoly. I said, do you have kids? He said, yeah. I said, go home and give them to your kids because your kids will think they're cool to have Canadian currency. But he literally gave me a coffee, a white carton of milk, and a chicken salad sandwich for free.
That was
okay.
nice.
That's a huge. That doesn't happen, right? This is one of those nice stories.
Yeah.
Right. And then I drove back, but Tim Hortons coffee is slightly different in the U.S. That's where our conversation started from.
Yeah.
The Tim Hortons coffee is slightly a little more shitty.
But you find, you know what, and it just could be the water. It could be the water filtration.
It is the water filtration. That's what Starbucks depends itself on, is that water filtration system.
You know, and then when you're doing franchise, it's so hard to do that brand consistency with any business.
Going back, though, you and I have traveled from show to show for 9 years, and yes, we share a room together, and yes, I like the camaraderie of it. And now today, if somebody said, I think originally, it was almost out of economics. You also didn't. You just started your business. We weren't sure.
I was very wet behind the ear.
And listen, when you're new in business and you're starving to death, and somebody says, "Come down to Florida and drop $4,000 and $600 on a flight and $300 a night in a hotel," okay, you're like, for what? Holy shit! So so you're starving to death, and then you go, "Let's share the room. We'll share the cost and expense." And then you find out that you actually, when you travel in business, it's really nice to have a buddy to hang out with.
Yeah, you and I and our club sandwich and French fries. Now that's a good story.
At 3:00 in the morning, but that whole experience of traveling, and I would tell anybody, if you had, here's the other thing. You and I are in different businesses, so unlike traveling with one of your team members on your team, or one of your employees, or one of your coworkers,
or even your spouse.
Okay, we don't hang out all the time together.
No.
So it ends up being somewhat of a guy trip.
Yeah.
Right. Good fun. We
have our status quo thing that we kind of, we end up at the bar.
Right.
I mean, I've learned a lot from you pacing yourself, being a contractor on site, to all of a sudden going out into a trade show world where there's the bar scene. Not realizing that people do cocktails at 4, but they go till 1, 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
So it's all about pacing yourself, and it's one day, but then the second day you have to be fresh and chipper as well. And I remember the first few years, I would come back totally destroyed. I'd have to detox, sleep the next day, the whole day.
Well, it wasn't just alcohol poisoning; it was also the sleep deprivation, right?
Oh, I'd get the.
You're going to bed. You're going to bed
Full
at 2, 3 in the morning, and waking up at 6 and going, okay, let's go, and you're ruined.
And the thing is, you want to maximize your face-to-face with your clients or potential clients. Well, so whether it's being at that bar till 2 in the morning, because
it isn't about the drinking and the partying. You literally,
it's the relationship that you want.
You want to have a relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
And if you're only meeting them for instance, for Connects Prism, you're only meeting them once a fucking year. You go, I need to spend as much time with you as possible the next 3 days to develop enough relationship with you that when we talk on the phone, you remember who I am. Because half the problem with any new business is actually them remembering you.
Yeah.
I get calls all the time at Stadia. I get calls and go, somebody called me, or I saw someone. And I go, who'd you see? And they go, I don't know, one of your sales guys. I always tell my sales guys when somebody calls me and says, I saw one of your sales guys, and I go, what was his name or her name? And they go, I don't know. I go, wow, my sales guys, excuse me for not being politically correct.
the ball.
Yeah, retarded. What the fuck? Why doesn't the customer know your name? And because your only job when you first meet somebody is to get them to remember who you are. That's your only job. Tim. Call me Tim. Right? That's right. Say Mitt if you're dyslexic, right? Mitt, look in a mirror. That's all you want them to do is remember who you are.
But I find that with you, over the last little while, one thing I noticed, your status quo for trying to find innovative shit that people are going to remember. Having goats. I mean, I talked to the guy right over here. He didn't know. He says, you guys are the goat guys.
Yeah.
You know, this year we'll be the shit guys, giving out goat. You know,
yeah,
Kevin's
and the big and the white costume goat running around, and Dylan.
Mascot, yeah, and Dylan.
What? So trade shows are. I got to tell you, no offense to everybody, they're boring.
They're boring, and you know what? They're consistently the same.
We're literally doing this recording at PM Expo in Toronto, and there ain't nobody around.
No. Yeah.
Sure, pan around. Let's do a quick pan and get an idea of how many people are not here right now at 9:15 on Friday morning.
And the show's been open now for
20 minutes?
25. Oh, look, everybody's here at their booth.
Wave. Everybody wave. There's not even anybody waving, eh? They're all on their cell phones. Wave.
Wave.
No waving.
Floorfest.
Not a thing. Oh, there's a wave. Oh, Byrne team, state team, waving.
You know,
no, shows are boring, eh?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you reinvent it, but the straight aisles up and down 10 by 10 booth has to change.
And you know, is it maybe because a lot of these companies have been around for a while? They have a set budget every year. We're going to do this many trade shows.
You put a lot of money into the
And you know, but
so even the booth rental companies have these standard configured things, and they don't want to change that configuration. They don't want to take the risk of buying new. What's a Tech Neon? So
Yeah.
Tech Neon and Global do all these standard booths, and nobody wants to change they store them for the next show, and nobody wants to change any of them.
But here's the thing: generation and mindset has changed. But trade show is, well, this is how we've always done it. And any business owner that has that philosophy,
I tell my staff, if you come to me and say this is the way we've always done it, I'm going to fire you.
you have to adapt to current time, current generations. We have the Gen Xers, we have Gen Zs that are going to coming down the pipe. This is not going to catch their attention. 10 by 10 stuffy booths.
10 by.
They'd probably be better off going online and sitting at a Starbucks and searching up who's on that list and see who's good to go to and just talking to them via email. It's the face-to-face that people aren't interested to come to these shows. The younger generation. At least I don't think they are.
I think they're fucking boring. I think a lot of people go. A lot of people in there between 35 and 45, 35 and 50 go to meet old friends.
So what is the intent of the trade show for a business owner?
Okay, so
it is a marketing.
So it's marketing, not selling. So and for all the people that are watching or listening, this is good shit. So when you're doing a business-to-business trade show, for most business-to-business trade shows, you're not actually turning revenue. You're turning brand.
Well, growing brand.
You're growing brand, not revenue. And and by the way, so for your staff that work at the show, they don't actually know this. They think your sales staff think they're there to turn revenue. As an owner, you know that you're here to turn brand. Now, when I use that term, turn brand, as an owner, so for Promain Exterior Maintenance, the only thing right now, Promain, God bless, is Anthony Vinzi.
Yes, and I want to separate myself and have it.
Yeah, if you don't separate yourself from Promain Exterior Maintenance is actually worth nothing.
A U.S.-based company is not going to come up here and buy a business that I'm attached to. They want to phase me out of it and just buy you out.
Because if the company can't work without Anthony Vinzi, why would I buy it? Because you fucking leave and I'm dead.
Because the relationship, I'm relationship
right.
based.
So that what's that? What on your EBITDA, on your present value of your business? It's okay. I'll explain later. On the present value of your business, goodwill is a huge portion. Sorry, let me rephrase it. It could be a huge portion, or it could be worth nothing. So the basic calculation is to do 3, 4, 5 times earnings. And people always go, I got 7 or 8 times earnings. The only reason you get beyond 3 times earnings in a service business is you either have to have revenue in perpetuity. You know, like the hot water tank guy who's renting out hot water tanks for the next 25 years. He rents out 500,000 hot water tanks, turns to an equity investor and goes, income in perpetuity, right? Right. That's how those tech companies do it. It's income in perpetuity. So they haven't done a multiplier by 3, 4, 5 times revenue. They've done a multiplier by 10s and 20s because if Facebook has a 20-year run, it's multiplied by 20 years of revenue, and you want your cut of that as an owner. But most of us little shitty service companies run off 3 times earnings. And the only way we get the next 4, 5, 6, 7 times earnings is brand value. But the only way we get brand value is if you can sit in Florida for 6 months out of the year and not operate the business.
Exactly.
As soon as you're sitting in Florida, you go, woo! Promain is now not worth 3 times earnings, it's worth 6. And trade shows, and I said this to, not Chuck Nervick, I said this to Jeff Ingram from PM Expo, because PM Expo in Toronto, by the way, is a 32-year-old show. I said, if you don't go to PM Expo, going to PM Expo validates your existence on the local Ontario market.
Yes, it does.
If you're not at PM Expo, it doesn't validate your existence in the business-to-business construction service market. Coming here is a rite of passage. You know you've become a success in the service industry. So people blow $10,000, $15,000 to come here purely to say, I am somebody.
And the podcast thing is now reading a broader market.
Yeah, so it's funny because Jeff Ingram and I had that conversation because trade shows are so shitty and nobody likes to even go to them anymore. Literally everybody dreads it.
Yeah.
And by the way, when somebody goes, last day of the show, fuck.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. My wife said to me, how you doing? Just when she texted me, she's in Ottawa, and she goes, how you doing? I said, I'm doing awesome. And she went, wow, that's great. And I went, well, is there any other way to be? But I'll be honest with you, most people in here are going, my knees hurt, my feet hurt, it's boring, I stand around a lot. I'm preying on the one single red badge that went by, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because the salespeople here are looking for revenue.
Yeah, but when you're doing any type of job, including trade shows, you try to find some fun out of it.
Well, if you don't find the positive spin in it, you're fucked anyway.
I mean, Dylan and I were toying around and playing with people coming up down the aisles, handing out stuff, funny one-liners. Listen, if we're going to be here, let's make the best of it. Let's have that positive. Because who are you going to attract to a booth if you're going to have that long look on your face? If you're going to have that tired and complain.
Sure.
You want to have positivity. How's the show? You got to put your happy face on all the way through to the finish line.
So for Promain Exterior Maintenance, by the way, Anthony's been known as Paint Chips. If anybody's watched any previous episodes, Anthony was like one of the first guys that came on the show. And you said how the technology doing podcasts. I want to ask, because you've gone to a lot of shows with me, but you went to Remy was the first show in the spring that you actually physically had signage there.
Yes.
Brand presence, right? Not Anthony Vinzi presence.
Yeah.
And this is your second show.
Correct. And your question is?
It's two parts. One, did you find that? All right, the first show, the Remy show, which is brand new, very first time ever history. Where PM Expo is 30 years old. Forget about the attendance. Take the attendance away.
That was a Raptors issue. Anyway.
But I mean, it's not, and it's new.
And it was
Raptors,
a new show.
the whole bit. Just you personally, being a virgin at trade shows.
Okay.
Just like having sex for the first time, it wasn't what you expected. Like you weren't, the lights are out. You don't even know what's going to happen next,
but I've been coming to trade shows.
Next thing you know, it's all over.
Yeah.
This year you're supposed to say no. That wasn't me.
It wasn't. There was no premature happy. There was no happy ending.
No, I mean.
Yeah, I got
from
it.
first to second.
Yeah.
Because you and I.
But I've seen trade shows. I've walked trade shows.
A lot different working it though.
When you're working it, and it's like anything. It's one thing. When you go to a party versus planning and organizing a party, it's a little bit different.
Sure.
You want to make sure everything's perfect, and especially because it's your baby.